there's always react slop, right? Alright, hey, and it took me 2 fucking seconds, chat. This took me 2 seconds, right? To Wuthering, Waves, Echo, RNG defense.
So last week I released a video going over the official probabilities.
Oh, this is peak. Wait, this is peak. Wait, what is this? This is Emu. Alright, and there it is. Emu wants me to get banned, by the way. He wants me to watch
Hello
FIFA
everyone,
content.
this is your daily dose of internet.
Okay, we're just literally just wasting time right now. Alright.
Of substats in Wuthering Waves ecosystem, and it got a lot of people talking in the community. There was an interesting mix of people unhappy with Wuthering Waves echo substat system and also a fair few people defending it. So in this video I wanted to address some of those responses I got to that, because honestly, a lot of the stuff that they were saying just really doesn't make sense to me. So with that being said, my name is Ryuuku Sensei, and this is why defending RNG substats in Wuthering Waves makes no sense. First up, a bit of a minor comment that I saw every now and then. We already knew about this. Well, I didn't. I saw the one I showed in the video, but I didn't see this other one on the wiki. And from the response, it seems a lot of others in the community didn't know about it either. What I'd seen is that it was new information that Kuro had been forced to reveal by the South Korean government, so that's how I covered it. So for me and many other people, this is new information. But on that point, it's one thing for the community to figure out the probabilities, but it's another when it comes from the official source. And even if it's old information or the crowdsourced figures were close enough anyway, does that really matter? It was new information for me and many others, and that's all that matters in the context of this conversation. Bro's content must be dry trying to get that bag. Actually, quite the opposite. I have so many videos that I want to make, and all of them are large projects, and I end up feeling paralyzed not knowing which one or where to start. And when I do want to start, there's always something like in real life that gets in the way. So like stuff like looking after my daughter, or like helping my wife out around the house, or going to work, or stuff like that. I still haven't translated the NTE dev interview from Famitsu, and this was back in 1.0. And as for getting that bag, do you know how little I earn from YouTube? Take this video, over 17 minutes long, almost 140,000 views, and you wanna know how much of a banger that video got me? 33,000 yen, which is about $200 at the current exchange rate. And that's a nice chunk of change in and of itself, but for a video of this length and with these views, that is nothing. On average, I get somewhere between 210 and 214 yen per 1,000 views, which works out to be less than $1.50. From what I understand, that's about a third of what other gacha CCs in the space get, and YouTube ad revenue for gacha was already terrible compared to other niches as it is. My point is that I'm getting absolute peanuts, which is fine by me because I don't really care about the money. If I did, I would have gotten out of gacha a long time ago. I make my videos and say what I say because it's what I genuinely think. So yeah, I can assure you that my content isn't to get that bag, because the bag is smaller than a packet of peanuts. Next thing I heard, and I don't usually like calling out specific commenters when I do these response videos, but this one felt the need to specifically at me in another CC's reply, so this one is for them. At CS2 Asia says, I think at Ryuuku Sensei just wants to burn his bridges with Kuro, move to Hotta Studio and feed that post to WuWa Doom posters and slander. I have one regular contract to make content for a specific game, and you want to know which one that is? Wuthering Waves. I've had this contract for almost a year now, and from everything I've seen, they've been pretty happy with the videos I make and the coverage I do for them. So they signed me up after my extensive criticism of the ecosystem and kept renewing my contract even when I've been critical and made a couple of pretty negative videos about Wuthering Waves in the past. Why would that video turn them off from me at this point? And why would I want to burn a bridge with them when we have no problems? This is another one of those stupid, you're either with us or against us mindsets that the tribalists have. Yeah, I like NT, but I also like Wuthering Waves. Imagine that. I also like ZZZ, Arknights Enfield, the original Arknights, Path to Nowhere. I fucking hate FGO, but I still log in every now and then because I'm a filthy addict with over 2,000 login days on that. Just because I'm talking about what I think are Wuthering Waves' bad points doesn't mean it's slander or doom posting, and the quicker that you and the other tribalists out there understand that, the better. Well, this is a nothing burger, clearly. Maybe for you, but these figures matter to others. Honestly though, whenever I see these comments like it's a nothing burger or this is manufactured outrage, in my opinion, this is the exact same behavior that I've seen from Hoyo defenders arguing why they don't need a skip button or loadouts or any of that stuff. I think these people are just purposefully trying to play down any criticism in order to defend Wuthering Waves, regardless of what that criticism is. That's just my suspicion. Maybe it's true, maybe it's not, but I have a hard time believing that anyone genuinely thinks that RNG substats in a game that requires you to build character after character is a good thing. On that note, I got these kinds of comments too. Honestly, man, I like how difficult it is to get max rolls when you end up doing a fuck you amount of damage. It's because you know you earned it. And also, RNG substats feel more rewarding than a fixed outcome. In a fixed outcome gear system, even if I get lucky, I keep thinking I was going to get it anyway. It doesn't feel novel or special. To me, this sounds more like Stockholm Syndrome than anything else. It's like arguing, I like my pay stub being random each month, even if I work a lot of overtime. That way, it makes it feel more rewarding if I get a big bonus. Effort put in should equal results put out. Not effort put in should be rewarded. Maybe. In games where you have to build dozens of characters, the gacha RNG should be limited strictly to the characters and the weapons. And speaking of the gacha RNG, this is another thing I also heard. You're surprised a gacha game has gambling mechanics? What are you, a tourist? No, but you clearly are, because you're just telling on yourself at how little you know about gacha games in general. Gacha is not a genre of game, it's a monetization model. Gacha spans rhythm games, dating sims, turn-based games, tower defense, action games, RPGs, action RPGs, puzzle games, and many, many more different types of genres. There is no one thing that connects all of these gacha games except how they monetize their characters and or skins. But I have an idea of why certain people are saying this, which leads me onto another comment I got quite often. Wuthering Waves is better than most RNG stat systems in other live service games, and whenever someone said this, I asked them which games they were comparing it to, and each time it was almost always the same games. Genshin, Honkai Star Rail, and Zenless Zone Zero, which tells me that the vast majority of people that are saying this are like frogs in a well, not knowing the vast ocean of gacha games out there. To be fair, one commenter I talked to also listed other games like Snowbreak, Nikkei, Star Savior, Chaos Zero Nightmare, Mongol Stardive, Diablo 4, and dozens of MMOs, to quote him directly. So I want to address each of these to hopefully put this to rest. Yes, many of these games have RNG substats, but what they also have are RNG mitigators. Snowbreak already has significantly less stat variation than other games, but on top of that, they also have this special modification system which you can use once a piece is leveled to level 15. After that, you can lock and replace unwanted substats using revision applications or specific reroll items. This is accessible to all players, not just whales. Nikkei has barely any RNG on substats until you get to the extreme late game, and even then, they also have a substat lock, unlock, and reroll system in place. Star Savior has the imprint system to transfer specific stats between gear, and you can continue rolling for top tier Arcana cards, so you can farm to get the good stats you want, then carry them over to better gear. Again, huge.
Okay, boss. Gotta chime in right now, right? As Mr. Star Savior, the only guy left playing Star Savior, bro, I can tell you guys right now, Star Savior's gear system is cooked, bro. It's cooked. They made it a little bit better because now that if anyone even still plays Star Savior, they added the option where you can craft a desired gear you want with the right main stat, right set, right substats, but it needs 1,200 or 1,400 points to get a one piece of gear, and after you get a one piece of gear, you have to roll into the right subs that you want, usually crit damage, and between each roll, there's a very, very big difference between a low roll and a high roll. So you could roll a 0.8% crit chance, or a 2% crit chance. There's a huge variance in terms of the subset RNG. And on top of that, your speed rolls can be either a 1 speed roll or a 2 speed roll. So if you were to roll 1 speed gear 5 times straight, it could be 6 speed. Alright, so 1 speed, then plus 5 rolls, 6 speed. It could also be 10 speed. So it's 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, then 1, 1. So the variance is very, very big in Star Savior. And there is unfortunately just not really enough stamina to consistently farm good gears, essentially. What is the ominous background music? Oh, it's Star Rail. I'm coming back to this very, very soon, but bro, Star Savior's gear system is real. Bro, Epic 7 has a really good gear system. You know why? Because Epic 7 actually gives you, by default, maxed out plus 15 relics or like plus 20 to like get the baseline stats as a foundation for an RTA focused game. So, if anything, I think Epic 7 has some really, really good gear management.
Mitigating the amount of farming and grind caused by pure RNG. Admittedly, CZN and Mongol Stardive have similar RNG without mitigators as far as I know, but I'm not too familiar with these games. So for now, I'll still say that it's not a good system for those games either. Enfield doesn't have any RNG on gear at all, and same for dozens of other gacha games not mentioned in this list.
Which doesn't exist,
does have RNG, but everything is visible before you spend resources to unlock it. And just getting ahead of myself here, but this is the best middle ground approach, short of a full system overhaul, in my opinion. Then there's Diablo 4 and other MMOs which are not gacha, but because I had several people bring these up as examples of games with worse RNG than Wuthering Waves, I felt I need to address those too. The huge distinction between these games and gacha games like Wuthering Waves is that in those MMOs, you're building a single character, not a whole teams and rosters of characters. Not only that, but in games like Wuthering Waves, teams are constantly being changed out to keep up with the meta because of the power creep. Another thing is that those MMOs don't limit how many times you can run a dungeon or farm a certain mob. The RNG itself becomes the speed bump in the player progression. What we have in Wuthering Waves is that plus two more barriers to the progression. The first is that they also limit how many times you can farm and level echoes because of the wave plate system, and the second is being limited how many echoes you can level because of the tuner system. So just no, I completely reject this comparison. Not because it's a difference between MMOs and gacha, but because it's a difference between building one character and building multiple teams of characters. Almost every game listed
crazy mega brain fix from very large brain, very large P. Hear me out, chat. Instead of building so many fucking units, just E6, 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 E6. The end. You will never ever escape that DPS ever again. Build that E6, bada boom, bada bing, bada bing. Cause like at the end of the day, do you really need good gears for supports and sustains? Like compared to DPS, right? Like it's way easier to build them. Right, so you could just get some fuck shit support gear, slap on like an E0, E1, and then your DPS gear. Oh my goodness, bro! Just all in the E6 final, bada boom, 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 boom. Smartest gacha, bro. That is exactly why you should be playing Zenless Zone 0 as an E2 Void Hunter merchant, bro. Who cares about building 20 different ZZZ main DPS? Just pull E2 Void Hunter. Don't need to learn anything about the game, and you beat everything, bro. It's really just that easier.
That has RNG substats, has some kind of mitigating system in place that makes it better than Wuthering Waves. Even Hoyoverse titles started implementing RNG mitigators. Zenless Zone 0 has tuning calibrators, but more importantly, resonating cores, which let you craft a drive disk with up to 2 substats of your choice. You make them with the tuning calibrators, which all players can get through gameplay, and they're still fairly scarce, but at least everyone has access to them. But that's ZZZ. They're known for being better than the other Hoyoverse games.
Whoa!
Right? The other one, Honkai Star Rail, has the self-modeling resin, which all players can get through gameplay and endgame. You use that to make a relic with the main stat you want and up to 2 substats. They also have variable dice, which act as a substat rerollers, but I've heard mixed opinions on that. Okay, so that's ZZZ and HSR. As we all know, Genshin could never. Genshin Impact first
Okay, I know nothing about Genshin, but I'm not gonna... Bro, since we are on God Rail's relic system, right? God Rail's relic system. Personally speaking, I'm not even gonna talk about my main account. I am purely just gonna talk about my free-to-play account. Personally speaking, I think this gear system is really, really manageable as long as you give a higher focus on your main DPS. At least that's what I've been doing most of the time. Like, I never ever directly farm for support units. So like all these gears from supports, they just drop out as a byproduct of farming. So for example, right, I have a crazy speed gear, right? I have a crazy 12-speed Segredos. But the thing with this Segredos is I didn't intentionally go out of my way to find a 12-speed Segredos. The reason why Buggo over here showed up is if you take a look over here, right? Bro, I have 498 Segredos and 698 Scholar, bro. So it is purely from the law of large numbers that I went ahead to farm this. Okay, at least in my opinion, back in version 3, this was a really, really efficient domain for me to farm. Because I could use this 4-piece on D Herda, on My Day, on Anexa, on Archer, back then before Quantum. So like a lot of my main DPS just use this 4-piece. And then at the same time, I can also use this as either 2+2 or just a 4-piece itself. So after farming this gear long enough, my main DPS is getting the majority of the focus. Like, for example, my D Herda gears there right now, I think she is not too shabby, right? 34 effective subs as a complete free-to-play, right? We do have a couple of what's that? Ooh, that is a perfect 4 roll. Ooh, that is a perfect 4 roll. Ooh, that is like 2 crit damage and a speed, right? That is just a 3 rolls. It's alright, it's alright. Then we have a perfect 4 roll and a 3 plus a 2 speed over there, right? So, after playing this game long enough, the gear system doesn't feel as bad because I'm not building a lot of different units. And it kind of ties back into Mr. Ryuuku Sensei's point as well, which is if you play a gacha game and you build too many different units, which means different DPS and different team comps all at the same time, you are probably going to run out of resources to have a decent enough quality for every single one of them. Whereas for my, like for example, how I manage my DPS, right? My best invested gears had been Remembrance. I think my Remembrance has like the highest amount of like relic investments out of everyone. Then I gave D Herda a lot because she was like my day 1 DPS. Then my other gears like my Anexa and like my My Day and like my Spargo, right? It is not okay. My Spargo is naked. Okay, I have no idea why. But they're not as high of a focus. So it led to me investing my relics, right? My stamina, my resins for a much more selective group of DPS compared to someone that wants to build like 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 different teams. Right, so right now, I am going to, I have already invested into Himeko Nova. I think her gear is okay, not the best, not the worst. A total effective subset is like 32, which is slightly lower than my D Herda, but I don't really need her to be perfect. Why? Because I know for a fact she's eventually going to unlock this E2, right? So when I'm going to be able to bring this up, whether or not I have that perfect 34, 35, 36 effective subsets, or do I just go for the additional cost over here, it is going to be a lot more obvious to me which one has more 性价比. Alright, which one is more bang for buck for the amount of resource I'm gonna spend. So taking this current account trajectory, I am gonna start investing more into 4-piece Quantum and 2-piece Tengoku so that I can preemptively prepare for my E0 Rin. Alright, because when Rin enters into my Archer team, which she is definitely going to enter into my Archer team, I need to make a little bit of adjustments here and there. So for example, I need to change this to ER rope. Right, luckily for me, this is this is attack, which is like not that good. So I ideally want to get this to be a quantum double crit as well. Then once I get this Rin build sorted out with Archer, I don't need to care about the next 2 or 3 versions of units, because let's just say if Babin is gonna be a support, right? If Babin is gonna be a support for Himeko, whether or not she is, I have no idea. But if she is, I am not gonna be spending that much energy for Babin because she's not a main DPS. I don't need Babin to have the same level of stamina invested as a support compared to a main DPS, which I would say hold a much higher priority. And because those 3 are gonna be, okay, at this point of time, it is gonna be Himeko main DPS, right? That's team 1, then there's team 2, then there's team 3. If I want, maybe I slap in a D Herda team here and there. It's not gonna be that big of a priority. My team building is already done. So I don't need to spend a ridiculous amount of stamina to build up yet another main DPS, because main DPS are those that takes a shit ton of like resins as well as fragments, right? Now I can just save up everything, right? Save all the way to version 5, where we'll see if we want to build ourselves a version 5 team. So as of right now, my stash has about, I don't know, how many do I have? Holy shit, chat. That is quite a bit, right? That is quite a bit of relic fragment remains as a complete free-to-play account. And on top of that, we also have ourselves, I believe, like 20 resins, just like completely untouched, if I'm not mistaken. Peep. Boom. All right, 25, right? And yeah, I think at the end of the day, it's just making the choices on which characters deserve more resources and saving these resources because you don't need the same amount of stamina for every single unit. Or I mean, sometimes you just get lucky, right? You can just build a unit super fast. But even if you don't get that perfect roll, it is not the end of the world, right? So that is gonna be my thing.
The artifact transmuter, which allowed players to create specific artifacts with 2 subsets of their choice. It was expensive as hell to do, but you could do it, and even free-to-play players could get enough of those for free if they just kept playing.
Talking about Genshin.
Then later they introduced the Dust of Enlightenment. These can be obtained from the Stygian Onslaught endgame mode.
Protect your game.
Your thoughts on that in-game mode aside,
defend
it's still
your game,
available
Genshiners.
to all free-to-play players, and if they do it, they can basically
tell me, Genshin mains, tell me why the fuck does the game limit me from using my very own red? Okay, like whatever that thing is, why does the game limit me from using my own resident? Tell me why. Tell me why. Why, chat? Why? This me, Sun is not fucking responsible. Sun is not fucking responsible.
That distribution into
that doesn't sound like a bro. Imagine you go to a court and the lawyer asks you like, why do you do this? And then your lawyer just says Sun.
And you can make sure that all the upgrades go into those substats. And this is available to all players as long as they keep playing and reach the endgame. And that's just the games that have RNG substats. The vast majority of gacha games out there...
To be fair, Genshin having the ability to use off-piece is really, really good. I gotta give that to Genshin. That is a super nice... Because like, the most annoying part about Relic RNG is you need to fix that 4+2. Okay, at least in HSR. As well as the 4+2 in Zenless, right? But Genshin having the ability to use 4+ anyone, that might be able to push the probability a lot more in the player's favor, right? Depending on like what is the Relic EXP income from like Genshin and like HSR, because like maybe you get less or more like Reg EXP, but at that 4+1 all pieces are really good.
Very often I hear Kuro needs to have RNG subsets to keep players logging in each day. What? The daily login bonus is more than enough incentive for that. But
I want to like remove our Knight's Enfield from this relic crafting equation, because our Knight's Enfield's relic crafting equation is like it's so different from like all these systems, because they definitively show you a finish line. Once you artifice to +9, the end. You don't need to touch it ever again. So all your builds for all your units is gonna look the exact same. It is purely just a matter of time for both your weapon essence as well as your artifice gear, right? But the catch for this is you cannot gamble, bro. And I'm playing a gacha game to fucking gamble, right? Why the hell would I want my facial to look like every other facial out there, right? Like, I flexed my world's rank 1 archer. Why? Because there are 20 billion other archers out there that are worse than my archer, right? My unit is built better than your unit. That is just personally speaking why I like RNG, because when you get fucked in the ass by RNG, you can also fuck RNG in the ass when you win the RNG, bro. Right? And I'm a filthy fucking degenerate, so I do like the RNG system, right? So
what players do after logging in? Whatever they like. And if there's nothing else but farming and leveling echoes, then that's a problem with the gameplay loop. There should be more fun, repeatable content for players to enjoy, instead of the old boring echo grind that feels more like a chore than fun, which is the point. These games are supposed to be fun. Games are supposed to be fun, right? Are people forgetting that? But getting back to the Kuro needs RNG subsets to keep people logging in and earning money argument, that completely ignores the vast majority of gacha games out there that don't have RNG subsets on their equipment, if they have equipment systems at all. Just taking a look at the gacha revenue report, and yes, I know before everyone gets in there, it's not accurate. I don't really care about the specific numbers or which game goes first or second, third, whatever. I'm just using it as a reference for general top performing games. Okay, so with that out of the way, Love and Deep Space has RNG substats, but whenever the conversation comes up about whether male characters sell or not, people always say that you can't include Love and Deep Space.
Love and Deep Space gear
okay,
RNG
that's fine. I think it's fair to exclude it from this list too.
I have no idea.
Note to Online. I'm not too familiar with this one, but it has a gear system with no RNG substats as far as I know. Monster Strike, literally the highest earning gacha game of all time. No gear system at all. Dragon Dokkan Battle, again, another massively earning title. No equipment, but has support items. Dragon Ball Legends has equipment, but also has auto farming, and you can infinitely reroll the substats or use other materials to guarantee both the substats that you want.
Also, NTE's gear system, it feels a little bit like a mix between Enfield and like traditional, like, or not traditional, sorry, like mainstream gachas. Because there's technically also an end in NTE, because you just need to roll the subsets. So you completely don't need to roll like how many times you need to go into like an individual subset. So the finish line is like much nearer. But like the perfect piece is like attack damage, crit damage, right? But that perfect piece is like fucking difficult to hit, especially if you want to hit like the right Tetris style. But you can still have that sense of like gamble to roll the right tiles with the right subsets. Like 4 perfect subsets. So there's somewhat like a in-between. Like, alright, Enfield in terms of RNGs here, then NT's here, and all the others are somewhere around here.
And the amount.
Really,
Fate Gun Order
Marvel
has
stop.
craft essences, which
nah,
are
I'm good, bro.
basically like gear, but again, no RNG substats. Pokemon TCG. I'm not sure if I should include this one into this count, into this list here, but either way, no RNG
Pokemon
substats.
Champions,
NTE, I mentioned earlier, has
okay,
RNG
we
substats,
presented them
but
all
they're
first,
all
right? I'll try
visible,
Pokemon Champions.
just locked.
Because
OG
I think
Arknights,
there's no way I beat
no
them
RNG
first, right?
substats, and you can fully max out a character within the first few minutes of pulling them, except for the skill masteries, which take a bit of time to wait for, but still, no RNG in sight. Puzzle and Dragons,
here?
again,
I have a
no
Sarah
RNG
impersonator
substats.
on
Nikkei, I
KChat.
talked about that earlier too.
Because
It does
Sarah
have
not from
RNG,
the
but
league.
it's only in the
What up,
late
what up?
game, and they still have locks and unlocks and rerolls, etc. Light and Night and Sword X Staff. I have no idea what these games are, so I really can't say. They seem really new. So if anyone knows about that, then please let me know. SD Gundam G Generation Eternal. No substat RNG. ZZZ, talked about that earlier too. Umamusume Pretty Derby. This one has a shit ton of RNG. But again, in saying that, Arknights Enfield, no RNG at all. Do I need to go on? At this point, I think I've made it pretty clear that while some games...
Technically, while Umamusume has RNG, it feels like a very different kind of RNG compared to your gear RNG. It's like you can build your RNG, right? You build the parents and grandparents before the ace, so you can kind of shape like what kind of gear you want to. It's basically like making a gear, right? You making your ace is like building your Uma with like the relics equipped. So like for example, if you want like groundwork, right? Holy ancient term, groundwork, right? Swinging Maestro, all right. What was the fucking other? Right, getting your Major Ryan, right? The 6-7-7-6, the fucking let's pump some iron, right? Like all these like white tracers and the yellow tracers together inherit is like you can build that very Uma that you want based on the race that you're gonna bring them into. So it is still like insanely RNG heavy, but it's a very different kind of RNG when I am playing in Umamusume back in those days. Right?
Have
And also
RNG
they added the AI
substats.
farming, which
Most
is like,
gacha games
a lot nicer now.
don't, and they're still standing strong, making bank month after month, year after year. So no, Kuro doesn't
Yeah, like, you
have
need a
to have
shit
this
ton of
system to
subsets.
keep people
It's like,
logging
you
in
need
each day,
10
and they
subsets,
don't have
but
to
you
have
need
it
to
to
roll
earn
it.
money either.
Okay, you can
Some
roll it for like
games
1 or 2
have
stars, but you
RNG
need a shit ton of
substats.
subsets.
Yeah, but almost all of them have some kind of mitigating system that's accessible to all players, including free-to-play. These systems guarantee both the main stat and anywhere from 2 to all of the substats. Wuthering Waves doesn't have that. Like, yeah, we have the main stat modifier, which is cool,
Wuthering
but the
Waves
biggest
don't
sticking
have
point is
that
the
shit.
substats. They introduced the transducers, but they are not accessible for free-to-play players through regular gameplay and endgame, and the current cost to buy them in the shop makes them a terrible deal. I don't want to get into the nitty-gritty in this video. I already have another video going over how bad they are here, so you can check that out there. Like, sure, technically free-to-play players could spend their oscillated coral on these just to get a chance of getting the stat that they want, but they could just as likely roll from defense
Bro,
to
it's one
defense.
bad thing.
Great deal.
And then
Point
you
is,
fucking
no
hate
one
that
is going
shit
to
out
use
of
these
context
except
and
the
you start
uber
war.
whales, and even then,
There
I
it
think they
is.
just do it for shits and giggles. Well, you don't need to min-max to clear endgame. You do with the old units, well, just don't use old units. Why not? People started playing this game to specifically use certain units, and making it harder to get better echoes shortens the
If my
time in which
Yingling
people are
becomes
able to
tier
use
3,
those units to enjoy their playstyles. But that said, most of the
never
units
be tier
people
3.
want to use
Right,
aren't
Yingling is
even
really
that old. We've only just
Yo,
passed the
Chodomare.
second year anniversary after all.
Alright, pause. How long is that video?
Wow, wow, wow. An Arknight.
Okay, respectfully, That's 17 subs, right? 1 sub for 1 minute, right? Respectively, because I'm literally about to play Enfield.
Well, to use an analogy, it would be like buying a phone 1 year only to have it made redundant with no more software updates the next. Like, sure, you could still use the phone for some basic things, but nothing else. And your solution is basically saying, just buy a new phone. Like, yeah, if the phone is 3 or 4 years old or something, sure, I get it. But like I said, we've only just reached the 2nd year, and already most of the characters are practically unusable in the meta. Well, actually, so-and-so character from 1.x can still clear TOA. Yeah, with heavy investment into their echoes, right? And that's exactly my point. These older characters can still clear endgame if they have 4 or 5 out of 5 highlight substats on each of their echoes. But getting that is statistically highly unlikely, and I'm not even talking about getting high rolls here. But putting that aside, what does it even matter anyway? Even if you have a completely stacked team with great echoes, if you don't use them correctly, it's very unlikely you'll be able to clear that endgame anyway. But beyond the endgame, people just like to have their favorite characters built, and built well, without feeling like their account is falling too far behind the latest units. At the current rate, it's like living paycheck to paycheck. It's a struggle just to keep on top of things.
There it is.
People want to be able to keep up, but also have that little bit of extra to either save up for a rainy day or to put into a hobby or something like that, which I think a lot of other people playing this game can definitely relate to. And for the people that say that they have plenty of tuners and experience, I showed this last time, but I have 2 accounts, and I'm trying to build my characters in the exact same way. One account has plenty of tuners and experience and several well-built teams, whereas the other has a couple of built teams and practically starved for resources. Like I said, I'm building these characters the exact same way. I'm not even trying to go for perfect echoes, just double crit and a 3rd highlighted substat. One account is fine, and the other is drowning. So when I see, well, I never have a problem, I build characters a lot easier compared to other games, congratulations for you. You're very lucky, but not everyone has that same luck, even with being careful about using their resources. And in all of this, I also just want to clarify that with all this talk of substats and the probabilities of getting certain roles, I've never argued for Kuro to make it easy to get the max roles. I agree that that is where the min-maxing and hardcore grind should come into play. The only thing I'm arguing for is a reliable way to guarantee the desired substats in the first place. That's it. I'm not saying there are no benefits at all to RNG substats ever. I just think that they do a lot more harm than good because in my experience, many people stop playing because they're just tired of the echo grind. That's just my speculation though. The way I see it is that RNG substats is a result of lazy game development. Instead of spending time thinking of the best way to balance characters, enemies, equipment sets, gameplay loops, stuff like that, fuck it, RNG. And again, just to be clear, I'm not saying Kuro doesn't spend time doing those things too. Right, just that Kuro should have more confidence with what they put in the game to keep players coming back each day. I think there should be a bigger push for content like Elusive Realm, Virtual Crisis, and Infinite Battle Simulation. Not as new endgame, but just as consistently replayable content for players to enjoy every day. Or whenever they want to actually sit down and play this game for longer than just 5 minutes doing their dailies. When it comes to the ecosystem, ideally I'd like Kuro to go with what they had with Punishing Grey Raven and not have RNG substats at all. But if they're not going to do that or implement an actual effective RNG mitigating system that all players can use, then at the very least they should go the NTE route of letting the subsets be visible but locked before leveling them. That would at least solve the experience and tuner scarcity issue. Having 3 different progression limiters is too much, and if you're not going to get rid of one of them, you should at least get rid of the others. Again, that's just my personal opinion though. But what do you think? Let me know.
Okay, honestly, bro, super easy fix. He literally just said it. Just show the substats, bro. Right? Just show the substats before you have to invest your EXP, the end. Right? It will legit like solve everything. Because like, if you show your substats on a gear that is good, okay, you go all in. Right? But you still need to spend the EXP and you still need to spend the tuners to get the substats. We can already see substats bro, we can see substats in God Rail, bro. Like that is pretty silly, right? That's legitimately pretty silly. So like, I feel like this day and age, pretty sure Wuthering Waves can just go ahead and add like a ability to preview substats, because it's not even like if you were to see the subset for the gear, you will suddenly stop spending like stamina or EXP. Why? Because there's gonna be new substats, bro. Or rather, new relic sets, right? There are gonna be new echoes for new units, and just like every single other fucking gacha game, whatever new patch drops, they drop either a brand new 4-piece, brand new 2-piece, brand new whatever the fuck, and then you have to farm all over again, right? Nobody stops farming for new relics for the rest of their life just because they got one perfect roll, right? Unless you play Goryo and you go all in 4-piece Eagle. Maybe you can stop farming for the rest of your life, but like you still need to get them new sets, generally speaking, right? So showing the subsets honestly would fix like a shit ton of problem, right? You allow players to feel better, right? You don't have to spend that many stamina just hunting for the right substats, which not just takes stamina but also costs tuners. And then in the future, right, when they drop newer echo sets, you repeat the process over again, right? Thank you, Ryuuku Sensei. That is very, very nice. Waiting for the day where Wuthering release a 4-piece Eagle, and then that will also fix all of their problems, right? Okay, see you guys on the clip channel. See you guys on the clip channel. Thank you. All right? Stop. And there it is, right? Do you know what, chat? I technically built Himeko Nova in not even just one day, but I built her in 20 minutes, bro. Day 1 complete free to play 20 minutes, right? 100% crit rate with Sunday, 156 crit damage, as well as fire damage boost up in there, which honestly is not that good. I would prefer if this was attack, but it ain't what it, right?
You have cooled your last cool, my man.